So today I'm going to be doing two more of my poems out of the videos that I've done with my own poetry. Not the last one, but the one before that was a video with two love poems. And so today I figured I would do two anti-love poems. You'll sort of see what I mean in a bit, but basically poems that are written sort of in the style of a love poem, but are more about not loving someone, I guess. But yeah, you'll see what I mean. The first one is called Point of No Return, and the second one is called Strawman. So they were written fairly, I don't want to say that they weren't really written around the same time, but I decided because the themes were, I guess, similar enough, that I would do them in the same video, even though it's not exactly chronological, whereas most of my videos try and stick with the chronology of when I've written them. But anyway, the first one I'm going to do is Point of No Return, and that was written about 2.5 years ago. So, yeah, a bit of a time frame there. So, there we go. We've reached that point, my friend, where the choice we never made has been made for us. When our hands brush, it's usually an accident, and although we tell each other everything, our bodies only touch in our diagonal hugs. Our lips never do, and never will. Maybe it's you, the fact that you're intimidated by intimacy, and we can't even watch romantic movies together. As you've explained numerous times, there are benefits to being friends without them. Let's face it, the closest we've come to making love is cutting out paper hearts on Valentine's Day. And even when we played house as kids, we were never a couple. To us, dinner and a movie is pizza and Superbad, and the only homes we've made together were sandcastles. Our sandcastles turned to glass houses long ago, but at least a glass house is stronger than one of straw or sticks. At least glass is see-through, so we know what we're dealing with. But glass houses shatter easily, and when ours is hit, the shards will cut deeper than any breakup ever could. So, I guess this is sort of what some people now refer to as a, friend zone poem, and while I am not a huge fan of the way that the word friend zone is used, just because it's generally seen as, I could make a full video about this, but just, I don't like the fact that it's seen as negative when a relationship between a guy and a girl is a friends-only relationship. I feel like opposite gender friendships are just as important, and in many cases can be more important, because you get the other person's perspective, right? Anyway, so this is sort of about two people who have been friends for such a long time and they know each other so well that at this point it's like, no, it could never happen. Just because, they know each other too well, it just wouldn't work. And on top of that, at the end, alluding to the fact that, you don't want to lose the other person. Just what glass houses shatter easily. The fact that when you're that close with someone and there is that tension, it's way too easy to slip up and, risk ruining the friendship by going for something more. So, you kind of stay content with your friendship. even if in many cases one or the other person may have feelings for the other person, and this is something that I've encountered. I've seen other people encounter it as well. I am the kind of person who likes having friends of, I guess, both genders, both male friends and female friends, and I mean, I'm not going to go into gender politics here, but basically, I like having a lot of male friends. It provides a completely different perspective to talk with them about, even many times the same topics. You can talk about relationships with a guy and it's an entirely different conversation from when you talk with a girl, and I'm sure, you guys see this too. But, yeah, that's what that's about. And also partly the fact that many times when a guy and a girl are friends with each other, I guess particularly a straight guy and a straight girl, or bi or whatever, even if there is no actual relationship tension or, romantic or sexual tension, other people will sort of put it there, because the idea is if a guy and a girl are close, there has to be something, either something will happen, or something has happened, or, something like that. And, I mean, they have the entire movie, When Harry Met Sally, is based off of this idea, and, I mean, it just sort of an interesting dynamic, I think, to think about. And again, it varies on the two people, but here I am rambling again. Okay. I will move on to the next poem. So let me see. Where did it go? There we go. Strawman. So this was written 2 years ago. Oh my god. It's 2014 already. That's so strange to see 2013 and I think, oh, that was a year ago. Nope, it's 2 years ago. Okay. Strawman. You and I have the same eyes. Folding our lids back like origami, we speak like men. No bones, just blood. You saw me as flesh and lips, more body than the fanciest of wines, and it didn't take long for me to wonder if you tasted as good as you looked. My fingers made their way through the fuzz of your scalp, distracting perfectly as I began to tug on your strings. It was too easy then. Your every movement, like I could whisper my will to your muscle fibers, every word I carefully placed in your mouth where you wished my tongue was. But you never saw past my skin. My heart is more corrosive than stomach acid, and my mind cuts like no blade. You saw me, sweet pale wonder, and didn't realize you are so lucky my fingertips haven't made their way burrowing into your flesh. My breath gives you goosebumps, and my tongue will leave dozens of paper cuts in your mouth. You were too much of not enough. A strawman of sorts, bending backwards so I could walk across your chest. I could not bring myself to pity you, just to whisper you back into a boy, one who doesn't remember how to pronounce the word stop. And as bad as it sounds, I like you better that way. So, this is a really kind of creepy, almost rapey sounding, I realize, poem, but it's written from the perspective of a girl who takes advantage of a guy, and not like not like rapey takes advantage, because I know it sounds like that once you get to the whole, like, it doesn't know how to pronounce the word stop. But this is something that happened to a male friend of mine who was very attracted to a girl, and she sort of manipulated him and played with him a little bit, and then ultimately decided that she wasn't interested in him. And I wanted to try and see if I could write a poem from that perspective, just because, I don't know, I felt like it's interesting, and it's different from a lot of my other poems in that way, in that it almost sounds like the narrator wants to hurt him, but at the same time, you know, it's, at the same time there's a slight bit of vulnerability, I guess. She mentioned there's a little bit of insecurity in the, like, you saw me as flesh and lips, and she doesn't seem to like being seen like that. And this almost is like her reaction. I don't know, it's very femme fatale, and I have a sort of, I won't say I'm enamored with the idea of the femme fatale, but I tend to love those characters, you know, like Catwoman, and I guess Harley Quinn isn't exactly a femme fatale, but Catwoman and Poison Ivy, and that sort of character in popular fiction. So I kind of wanted to write something that was similar. So, very interesting seeing, again, these are both anti-love poems, and they were written about 6-ish months apart, but they're very, very different. So sometimes when you see when I read a couple of poems and I realize they were only written like only months apart, and the style is very different, it's very indicative of, you know, whatever it is I was going through at the time. So this one's a lot darker, whereas the previous one was, I don't want to say more playful, but it definitely wasn't as dark as this one. So it's interesting to think how a few months can make that big a difference. I don't know, I'm sure other writers, specifically poets, or maybe even short story writers and stuff, I don't know how it would work with novelists, but anyway, I'm sure most of you who write on a regular basis can sort of see what I mean about stylistic changes based on what a person's going through. And even if you're writing like a story about someone else, you do sort of put a little bit of yourself into it. Like, I do know that at the time that I wrote Strawman, I was going through a bit of a strangely transitional period, and I don't want to say darker, but I was definitely in a darker place than I had been 6 months previous. So anyway, that is it for today. I will see you guys next time then.